everyone and welcome. You're here today with Andy Valkyrie Divine, and today we're going to start the Solar Plexus Chakra series, and today is day 1. We're going to begin with a brief introduction of what this chakra is all about. We've covered the root chakra and we moved up to the sacral chakra, and then now we're finally getting into the solar plexus. And after these 3 chakras, we're going to actually move on into the more conscious ones. So, these 3 are sort of the more materialistic looking ones. And then as you start moving upwards into the other ones, the heart, and then the throat, the third eye, and the crown, you're sort of starting to ascend, right? So we're not really talking physical, materialistic, but we're starting to move up. So today we'll begin with the solar plexus, like I said, and I want you to take a minute and think of, what does the solar plexus mean to you? I know a lot of the times a lot of us are more familiar with this chakra because we associate our stomach, our gut, with instinct, with power, with willpower, with getting things done, and this these characteristics are very good descriptors of what this chakra is all about. So if we had to think of an element, we would be looking at the element of fire. So we had earth in the root chakra, we had water in the sacral chakra, and then we're moving up to the fire aspect of things in the solar plexus. It almost sounds like Captain Planet, if you guys know what Captain Planet's all about. I used to watch that when I was a kid. Anyway, if you don't know what Captain Planet is, you should check it out, because they go like earth, fire, wind, water. Anyway, so the solar plexus is called Manipura in Sanskrit. And like I said, it's all about fire, it's all about willpower, power, authority, humor, believe it or not, and that's because it's in the area of our stomach, right? And laughter comes from that, right? Remember when we laugh so hard that our abs hurt? That's where it comes from. So our stomach plays a big role in this because the location of the solar plexus is just a little bit above the belly button, and then at the base of the sternum. And so, we laugh, so laughter, humor has to do with it. If we're talking about our stomach, then metabolism. Metabolism is a huge characteristic of this chakra. And what else can I tell you guys? So it's about warmth, about transformation, right? When you think of fire, fire is a very purifying kind of energy. I mean, on the drastic side of things, it's a very powerful form of transformation, right? There's other ones that are a little bit more sort of down to earth, but fire is a very strong purifier, and it transforms very quickly, from one state to another. And so I would say that transformation is a huge characteristic of this chakra. Like I said, once our bodies are grounded, once we have a good handle on our feelings, and we're getting into the flow of things, next comes that idea of, okay, I have that personal power, the personal will, the vitality that I need, that energy, right? Because fire is all about a very dynamic form of energy that we need. And so whereas the other ones were not so fiery, literally, right? This is where we start to see things really starting to catch up, in flames, so to speak. And it's all about taking action, about being efficient in what you're doing, about, again, just purifying yourself and going through that transformative process, right? And it's very again, because it's associated with, with power, with fire, with solar, because, the sun is like a fire when you look at it up close, and you see what it looks like. It's literally like a ball of fire. So we have here a couple of depictions of that, and so I have my little yellow candle here. I have some yellow flowers. I don't remember their name. I'm not very good with flowers, but I like to have them in the house and wear them in my hair. Not today though. And so it has that solar energy aspect of it, right? Because that's where our willpower comes from, and when we're driven and we're determined and we're ambitious, and we have that drive in us that just, we just want to go and do it. So it's our seat of action. And where whereas the other two, if we're talking about the sacral chakra and the root chakra, whereas even at the level of the second chakra, when we were thinking about the sacral, typically it tends to move downwards, right? So the energy still has a tendency to move down, because both the root chakra and the sacral chakra are still bound by gravity. So there's that tendency of, even if you get up to the sacral chakra, if things sort of tend to move out of balance, you tend to go right back into the root. So there's a tendency to go down and to be pulled downwards. And in the solar plexus is the first place where we kind of start to see that the energy is not really going down anymore. It's really just trying to move back up. So there's a tendency to move upwards in that. Think of the flames, right? We're talking about fire. Fire moves up. It always just tends to go upwards. The flames go up. And so the tendency of this chakra is also to start bringing and pulling things up. So it doesn't really go down the same way that the other two tend to go. And again, because we're talking about that transformative element, right? So we're trying to purify and to move upwards into the realm of energy. So that's the idea. In relation to metabolism, if we're talking about metabolism, the solar plexus is really important, because what it does is it helps to take food and water and turn it into energy and heat, right? So our bodies need to feel warm. We need to be at a very, very specific temperature, and if we deviate from that temperature of about 37 degrees Celsius, things go really wrong in our bodies. So, we don't want to go in either extreme. So that kind of regulation becomes really important. So, our metabolism is key here. And talking about, our bodies need to stay warm, and we use energy for that. We're thinking here more about the idea of personality. So if we think of, oh, that person is so warm and they're so kind, and so, right away you start to associate that aspect of warmness with someone. And then we have the other extreme, where we all know the person who's like way too hot-blooded, and we're just like, well, like, chillax, it's alright, take it easy, because they're just blazing like that, right? So it's also a center of aggressivity, aggression, because if people are too hot-blooded, it can start causing different things. But we'll get into that tomorrow. Just giving you a heads up. So this is where we're starting to see sort of how that plays out in people's personalities, right? Where you have people that have, and when we think of energy, people have styles that are very different. People say, oh, I love your energy, you're so enthusiastic, and so people have different forms of energy. Some people are just slow and lethargic, and they just, take it easy. And then you have the people that are very quick, dynamic. I gotta do this, I gotta do that, I gotta be efficient, right? So there's a level, there's a range there, and people express that in different ways, but again, it's all related to energy and that fire that comes from it. What else? Okay, in terms of balance, so when this chakra is balanced, when everything is as it should be, we have a person that is very warm, very loving, they're in harmony with their environment, they're not too aggressive, they're not too submissive, they're able to be assertive in a very firm but nice manner, easygoing, like I said, laughter, humor plays a role, so people tend to just kind of laugh, and even if they might embarrass themselves, they just kind of laugh it off, and so that shows that their solar plexus is centered. They are centered in their sense of self, in their sense of power, and they also act in the environment with purposeful action, right? They're not distracted like they would be, in the lower levels, or caught up in their emotions, or, they know they have a purposeful meaning behind everything they do. And that plays a role in that energy, that willpower. They're how can I put it? They're basically just standing in their own inner power, which literally comes from the solar plexus. And since we're talking about power, one thing that we can think of in terms of polarity, right? Remember we were talking that the sacral chakra is actually the center of polarity, of duality, right, between myself and others, and about, positives and negatives, because we have that range of emotions where, we have the negative spectrum and the very positive spectrum. So again, there's all that play of duality and polarity in the sacral chakra. And what I want to bring up is that in chakra number 2, that's when we're starting to explore that aspect of us. Whereas in the 3rd chakra, what ends up happening is you're actually combining the two. So it's no longer, ooh, I'm exploring what this emotion feels like, I'm exploring what that feels like, the yin and yang, the positive and the negative. You're actually able to combine them and have a solid balance in the middle, and that's what provides that power that we're looking at, because you're not swayed in different ranges, in different places, right? You're able to control that in a very balanced manner, and that denotes power coming from the center of the solar plexus. The other thing that I'd like to mention is that if you're thinking about the solar plexus, it's also a very important point where there's actually influence starting to come from the top, right? So sometimes you might have that power coming from the bottom, where you've gone through the root chakra, the sacral chakra, and you have those things handy, or you're solid, you're stable, you're grounded, you have a handle on life, you have a handle on your emotions, you're not really ruled by other people, you have clear boundaries, and what ends up happening is when you reach that balance and you're ready to step into the 3rd chakra, there's also input coming from the top, in that this is where your will comes in. So your ability to act goes hand in hand with your willpower, right? And that comes from the more conscious centers, which are like the higher ones, right? The top 4 that I was talking about. So you're going to see sort of the consciousness coming down from above, and then the power coming up from below, merging into the center of power, so to speak. And that's where you get that conscious will or power to manifest your goals, to go for things, that's where that personal action, that purposeful action emerges from. Let me see if I missed anything. Okay, so I'm going to read something for you guys from the book. Again, same book as always. This is the one that I use most often on day 1. Day 2 and day 3 I use other ones, but this is what I'm going to go with today. So it talks a little bit about will. So again, we're talking about consciousness. So it says consciousness, when applied to the fiery energy of chakra 3, becomes will. Will is the conscious direction of our life energy towards a manifest goal. Will is what differentiates raw energy from true power, for it is what guides, contains, and harnesses that energy. To have strong will, we need consciousness. We need to know what our goals are, to have a conception in our mind of what we want to achieve. The instinctual energy of the first 2 chakras begins to change direction at this level, incorporating more consciousness into our actions and reactions. Excellent. Okay, and that just kind of sparked a little something in me where I was thinking that, remember I was saying how the root chakra is very fight or flight, right? And fight or flight responses, and even in our brain, and the way that our brain is made, how do you call it? The brain that first developed like the primate brain, or so to speak. And from there we developed what's called like the cortex, which is the outside part of the brain. So not really the like the limbic system, all the parts in the middle that are really there, that activate the hypothalamus. These areas in the brain are the ones that are all about instinct right away, fight or flight. What do I do? Safety, whereas the cortex, which throughout the development of our species came very recently and has is on the outer edges of our brain, surrounding all our brain, is responsible for our consciousness, basically. So that's what distinguishes us from animals. So animals don't really have the cortical development that we do. And I'm sorry, this is my neuroscience background coming out. I have a degree in neuroscience, believe it or not. So what ends up happening is, this is where that consciousness starts to flow in, and all of our actions are directed not just from an instinctual, survival, food, shelter, sex kind of aspect, but also from a conscious level of, I have choices, I have goals, I have a direction in my life, I have purpose, I have meaning, and all those things start to take form in the solar plexus. Now, the other thing that we tend to do when at the level of the solar plexus is that some of us have this perception of ourselves as being a victim, and when we go through our lives playing the role of a victim, that's just like waiting for an accident to happen, right? And at the level of the solar plexus is where you start to feel that inclination of, what, I'm not a victim, I'm a co-creator, right? So that's where you become the captain of your own ship, or however that saying goes. So you're basically just taking charge of your own life, right? So you're not blaming it on circumstances, you're not blaming it on others. You're really just basically claiming your right to act. And this is very important in this particular chakra, because your actions are what define you as a human being. And it's very important to sit with that and to reclaim that right to act. And that happens a lot by us becoming co-creators, right? So we say co-creators because the universe plays a role in this, obviously, but as opposed to just sitting back and perceiving that everything that happens to you is because you're a victim of circumstance. There's a switch in perspective there where you don't do that, and you're empowering yourself, right? And so the solar plexus is all about empowering yourself to that right to act, and that right to take action in your life. And it's very difficult because, again, I'm going to go on a spiel about this, but our society is constantly teaching us that we are powerless individuals. We're being taught to listen to authority, to think that we cannot take action, to submit to daily routines that are tedious and boring, and we feel that we have to do it, and so we don't have that empowerment in us to really say, no, I don't want to do that, no, I want to stand up to that, or this is not how I see my life going. And even if we think of schools, of jobs, right, we get rewarded for being obedient and for submitting to authority figures. So it makes it really hard for many of us to really stand in our ground and really say, no, I don't want to do that, and I'm an empowered individual, and I'm going to stand up to that. So again, there's a lot of influences, there's a lot of things, very much like the root chakra, where I was saying that society plays a big role, and you always have to look at it from various perspectives, because there's so many influences there, that play a very big role in our lives. That if we start shifting again that perception from I'm a victim, of my job, of my upbringing, of circumstance, of whatever happens, to, you know, no, I'm the one that creates my own life through my own willpower, through my own ability to decide and take action towards achieving my goals, towards achieving my objectives, towards realizing my dreams. You know, that's where you're really starting to feel that that center be balanced and grounded, you know, exactly where it's supposed to be, where you're claiming your right to take action and be responsible for your own actions, for your own life. So that's it for today, guys. We're taking back our own power with this chakra. I'll see you tomorrow, and tomorrow we're going to be discussing what happens when this chakra is out of balance. Tomorrow's going to be really, really interesting. So I'll see you then. Thanks again, guys, for tuning in. Mwah.